The truck was unlocked. Keys in the ignition. $32,000 in cash lay on the seat, stacked in neat bundles. But Bobby Jamison, his wife Sherilynn, and their 6-year-old daughter Madyson were gone. On October 8, 2009, the family had driven into the remote Bois mountains of Oklahoma looking at property to buy. Their truck was found 2 days later, abandoned on a mountain road. The cash was untouched. Madyson's little white dog remained in the vehicle, but the family had vanished into the wilderness. If you're fascinated by true crime mysteries like this, please hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments what you think about this case. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest investigations. For years later, their skeletal remains were found 3 miles from the truck. But even then, investigators couldn't determine how they died or why they left $32,000 behind. October 8, 2009 started as a routine day for the Jamison family. Bobby, 44, and Sherilynn, 40, had been searching for months for the perfect piece of land in rural Oklahoma. They wanted to escape their current life, start fresh somewhere remote. The Bois Mountains seemed ideal. Isolated, affordable, beautiful. Bobby had found a 40-acre plot listed for sale near Red Oak, a tiny community in the Ouachita National Forest. He'd visited the property before and was ready to make a decision. This Thursday, he planned to bring Sherilynn and 6-year-old Madyson to see it. Their neighbor Nikki Shanold watched them load the truck that morning. Security cameras captured the entire process. What she saw on that footage would haunt her later. Bobby and Sherilynn walked back and forth between their house and the white pickup truck over 20 times. Their movements were strange, slow, mechanical. They weren't carrying much, just a few items each trip. But something about their behavior seemed off. Madyson sat in the truck's back seat, waiting. She held her white stuffed dog, the one she carried everywhere. The little girl appeared calm, patient, watching her parents' odd ritual. By 11 a.m., the family was finally ready. Bobby climbed into the driver's seat. Sherilynn sat beside him. Madyson settled into the back with her dog. They drove south toward the Bois Mountains, taking Highway 270 into increasingly remote territory. The drive would take about an hour through winding mountain roads and dense forest. No one would see them alive again. October 10, 2009. A local resident driving through the mountains noticed a white pickup truck parked on a remote Forest Service road. The vehicle had been there for at least a day, maybe longer. Its position was odd, not quite on the road, but not completely off it either. The resident reported it to the Latimer County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Steve Calkins drove out to investigate. What he found didn't make sense. The white Dodge pickup was unlocked. The keys hung in the ignition. The driver's side door stood open, as if someone had just stepped out for a moment and planned to return. But it was what Deputy Calkins found inside that made this a major investigation. On the front seat, in plain view, sat stacks of cash. $20 bills, mostly, neatly bundled. Deputy Calkins counted carefully, $32,000. Who abandons $32,000 in an unlocked truck in the middle of nowhere? The deputy searched the vehicle systematically. In the back, he found Madyson's white stuffed dog. Her clothes were there too, along with toys and coloring books. Sherilynn's purse sat on the floor, containing her identification, credit cards, and medications she needed to take daily. The family's GPS unit was in the console. Cell phones were scattered on the seats. Even Bobby's beloved pet dog, a white German Shepherd mix, had been left behind, though it had wandered from the truck by the time deputies arrived. Deputy Calkins walked the area surrounding the vehicle. No footprints led away from the truck. No signs of a struggle. No blood. The forest showed no evidence that anyone had walked into it recently. It was as if the Jamison family had simply evaporated. Within hours, the discovery escalated into a full missing persons investigation. Sheriff Jesse James of Latimer County contacted the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. The FBI was notified. Search and rescue teams mobilized. Detective Ian Chappell took charge of the case. The $32,000 immediately suggested several possibilities. Drug deal gone wrong, ransom situation, or something even more sinister. But Detective Chappell's first step was retracing the Jamisons' movements. He drove to their home in Eufaula, Oklahoma, and spoke with neighbors. Nikki Shanold shared the security camera footage from October 8th. Detective Chappell watched it repeatedly. The Jamisons' trance-like movements were disturbing. They appeared to be under some influence, drugs, exhaustion, or something else entirely. They looked like zombies, Nikki told him, just walking back and forth, not really focused on anything. Detective Chappell interviewed the property owner who'd been expecting to meet Bobby that Thursday. The man confirmed Bobby had seemed eager to buy the land. They'd arranged to meet at the 40-acre plot around 2 p.m. on October 8th. Bobby never showed up. Investigators learned disturbing details about the family's recent behavior. Bobby had told friends he believed his house was haunted. He'd mentioned seeing spirits. Sherilynn had written a letter found in the truck referencing 2 people walking from the graveyard. More troubling, Bobby had recently placed a large metal shipping container on the mountain property. He'd told the owner it was for storage, but neighbors had different theories. Some whispered about cult activity. Others mentioned witchcraft. The $32,000 raised immediate questions. Where did it come from? Bobby had been dealing in salvage and scrap metal, but that amount of cash was unusual. Had he sold something valuable? Was the money connected to the property purchase? For 8 days, search teams combed the Sans Bois Mountains. Volunteers, law enforcement, and professional trackers spread out from the abandoned truck in all directions. They used bloodhounds. The dogs picked up scent trails, but lost them after a few hundred yards, as if the family had simply ceased to exist. Helicopters with thermal imaging flew over the dense forest. The October weather was still mild, so if the family was alive and sheltering somewhere, the cameras should detect body heat. Nothing. Detective Chappell expanded the search radius. Teams covered a 5-mile area around the truck, checking caves, abandoned structures, and ravines where someone might fall or hide. The terrain was brutal. Steep hills, thick vegetation, and rocky outcroppings made progress slow. Searchers worried that a family unfamiliar with wilderness survival couldn't last long in these conditions, especially with a 6-year-old child. By October 18th, after finding no trace of the Jamisons, the active search was suspended. The case remained open, but without new leads or evidence, investigators had nowhere to go. The $32,000 was entered into evidence. The truck was impounded. Madyson's little white dog was placed with family members, and 3 people remained missing in the Oklahoma mountains. If this case is keeping you on the edge of your seat, please give this video a like and let us know what theories you have. Your engagement helps us bring more of these important stories to light. In the absence of answers, theories proliferated. Each one attempted to explain the inexplicable, how a family could vanish with $32,000 left behind. Theory 1. Murder-suicide. Some investigators believed Bobby had experienced a mental health crisis. He'd been behaving erratically before the disappearance. Perhaps he'd driven his family into the mountains with dark intentions. But this theory had problems. Why bring $32,000? Why leave the truck unlocked with valuables inside? And if Bobby had harmed his family and himself, where were the bodies? Theory 2. Drug deal. The cash suggested illegal activity. Perhaps the Jamisons had been involved in a drug transaction that went wrong. The remote location would be perfect for such a meeting. But Detective Chappell found no evidence of drug involvement. The family had no connections to dealers or users. Their financial records showed legitimate, if modest, income sources. Theory 3. Cult activity. The shipping container on the property, combined with Bobby's statements about spirits, led some to believe the family had been involved with a cult. Perhaps they'd planned to disappear into a wilderness compound. This theory also fell apart under scrutiny. No cult presence was found in the area. No evidence suggested the Jamisons had connections to any religious or spiritual groups. Theory 4. Witness protection. The large amount of cash and deliberate abandonment suggested the family might have entered witness protection, staging their own disappearance. But federal authorities denied any involvement. And witness protection participants don't typically abandon money and personal belongings. Detective Chappell pursued every lead, no matter how unlikely. He interviewed family members, friends, co-workers, and casual acquaintances. He examined the Jamisons' finances, phone records, and online activity. Nothing explained the disappearance or the cash. November 16, 2013. For years after the Jamisons vanished, 2 hunters were walking through the Sans Bois Mountains, about 3 miles from where the white pickup truck had been found. They were in dense forest, well off any established trails. One of them saw bones. Initially, they thought it was an animal, but as they looked closer, they realized these were human remains. Scattered across a small clearing were 3 skeletons, lying face down. The hunters immediately contacted authorities. The Oklahoma State Medical Examiner's Office recovered the remains and began the identification process. Dental records confirmed what investigators had suspected. Bois, Sherilynn, and Madyson Jamison had been found. But the discovery raised more questions than it answered. The bodies were positioned together, lying in close proximity as if they'd fallen at the same time. No clothing remained. The elements and animals had destroyed any fabric. Personal items like jewelry or watches that might have survived were absent. Most disturbing, the medical examiner could not determine cause of death. No bullet holes were found in any of the bones. No signs of blunt force trauma. No evidence of stab wounds. The remains were too deteriorated to test for poisoning or other toxicological causes. Dr. Joshua Lanter, the medical examiner, concluded, cause of death unknown. Detective Chappell now had bodies, but no answers about how they died. The investigation shifted from missing persons to homicide, though even that classification remained uncertain. How did the family travel 3 miles from their truck? The terrain was difficult, and 6-year-old Madyson couldn't have walked that distance easily through dense forest. Yet no evidence suggested anyone had carried her. Why did they walk away from $32,000 in cash? If someone had forced them at gunpoint, why not take the money? If they'd gone willingly, what could have convinced them to abandon everything? What happened in the clearing where their bodies were found? Did they die immediately upon arrival, or did they survive for days in the wilderness before succumbing to elements, injury, or foul play? The lack of clothing on the remains troubled investigators. Had the family undressed themselves? Had someone removed their clothes after death? Or had 4 years of decay and animal activity simply destroyed all fabric? One detail haunted Detective Chappell: the photo found on a camera in the truck. The last image showed Madyson sitting in the vehicle, holding her white dog, looking directly at the camera. Her expression was neutral, not fearful or distressed. That photo was taken shortly before the family walked into the mountains to die. 15 years after the Jamison family vanished, the case remains officially unsolved. The $32,000 became evidence in an investigation that never reached a conclusion. Madyson's white dog died years ago, never reunited with the family who abandoned it. The 40-acre property Bois had been so eager to buy was eventually sold to someone else. The metal shipping container he'd placed there was removed. Nature reclaimed the clearing where 3 bodies lay undiscovered for 4 years. Sherilynn's family held a memorial service in 2014, finally able to lay their loved ones to rest. Bois's relatives did the same. Madyson was 6 years old forever, her brief life ending in a mountain forest for reasons no one understands. Theories continue to circulate online. True crime communities debate the evidence, propose new explanations, and argue about what really happened in the Bois Mountains. But Detective Chappell, now retired, maintains that the core questions remain unanswered. Why did the Jamisons leave their truck? What convinced them to walk 3 miles into wilderness? How did all 3 die in the same location with no clear cause? And most haunting, why did they abandon $32,000 in cash? The money sits in an evidence locker, unclaimed and unexplained. 3 lives were lost in those mountains. 3 bodies were found years later. But the truth of what happened died with the Jamison family on October 8, 2009. Sometimes the most compelling mysteries are the ones where all the evidence is present, but nothing makes sense. The Jamison family story reminds us that even in the modern age with forensic science and extensive investigations, some disappearances refuse to be solved. If this case moved you, please subscribe to our channel for more mysteries that challenge everything we think we know. Leave a comment with your theories, and don't forget to like this video to help us reach more people with these important stories. Viewer discretion was advised for this content covering themes of death and missing persons. All case information is sourced from official police reports and Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation documentation. Visual recreations are AI-generated for educational purposes only.